And most importantly, I just want to say thank you to the people of Richmond for your patience during this time. I know this is a really challenging time to figure out how to operate without water, but I ask for your continued patience. Things are looking good for today, and we will continue to work tirelessly to make sure that we have restored full service to the people of the city. As we wait for the boiled water advisory to lift, my team is focused on meeting the needs of our residents by continuing to staff sheltering operations and also delivering water to our most vulnerable populations at the Justice Center, our healthcare systems, senior living facilities, and so many more. I want to thank the Department of Human Services, the Sheriff's Office, the Red Cross for helping coordinate all of that, along with now the Central Incident Management Team. We have pulled together formally the Incident Management Team for better coordination among the region. I want to encourage everybody to continue to go to rva.gov for updates, and we will continue to engage with the media to make sure the message gets out. Questions?
Mr. Mayor, I was going to say,
okay.
we're getting reports that water is now out in eastern Henrico, potentially the airport as well. Assuming even if this timeline sticks that you're saying the two pumps, how much worse could this get in terms of the spread of the outages?
Yeah, you know, now that we are actively filling as of this morning, it should not get worse unless we have another setback, right? Now that we're actively filling, if people are conserving, and the filling will hopefully keep up with the usage, so we should see that reservoir fill back up and that pressure will be restored. Again, it's going to take 4 to 6 hours of filling before that happens. Yeah, and to be clear, this is around the boiled water advisory. Remember, our protocol for the boiled water advisory starts when we have restored pressure to the system. So if everything continues to go well, we will see restoration of pressure this afternoon. We will do our initial sampling, and if those sampling are negative, we then do a follow-up sample 16 hours after that. 2 negative samples allow us to lift the boil water advisory. So potentially it's 48 hours from this afternoon? I think if all goes well and if we have good negative samples this afternoon, it should be less than that. But yeah, more like 48 hours from yesterday is what I intended.
Why did it take the city so long to relay this message to residents ahead of the freeze? Well, it didn't give people a lot of time to get what they needed ahead of the water.
Yeah, so as the events unfolded yesterday, we thought that based on the way that the water reservoir was moving, we thought we had until about 6 p.m., and so we wanted to give folks a couple of hours if we indeed were going to need to provide a boiled water advisory. We weren't sure that was going to need to be the case, right? We really were trying to get things up and running yesterday so that we could avoid the boiled water advisory altogether. But by late afternoon, we realized that the reservoir was dropping faster and consumption was increasing. And so we knew we had to get a boiled water advisory out. We also had to coordinate with a lot of different partners, right? Certainly the region, but a lot of other folks. And so that's ultimately why the message came out at around 4 p.m. yesterday. Sorry that it didn't, we weren't able to provide a little more buffer. But, the concern there is really, is there risk to the humans who did consume that water? And I would say very low risk because in most parts of the city, pressure was maintained. If pressure did drop off and people continue to water, there may be some low risk there, but it is a very, very low risk, and hopefully people got the message. We were very diligent about trying to get that message out there as many media as possible.
Mr. Mayor, I understand that you mentioned there's a power outage that caused some of the problems. What took so long in terms of identifying that the system was flooding? Because I've been to some of these water treatment plants and they're very clean. There's hardly any dust. They're meticulously monitored. Anything that's off, you're alerted. So how did it get to the point that it was able to flood entirely without someone noticing?
Yeah, my understanding of that, so the power outage was in the morning. It lasted a couple of hours. We had generator backup. We also had battery backups on a couple of the different systems. On one of the systems, the battery backup didn't last as long as it needed to, and so that's what actually led to the shock to the IT system that is kind of the brains of the whole water operation. On the other side, we actually had a failure of one of our redundant systems that led to valves opening up and then putting water into some of the clear wells, some of the collecting wells. And so over the course of the morning, that's when that water level started to rise. And so our folks were in there, they were setting up pumps, they were trying to pump that water out. But there was a couple of hours delay from the initiation of the power outage to the time that water actually started to build up in the treatment facility.
So why wasn't it noticed sooner?
Why wasn't the boiled water advisory?
The water, the rise and flooding.
Oh, I mean, I think, I'm not sure I quite understand the question. Why did our staff on site not notice the rising of the water? I think they noticed it as soon as, I mean, people were on site there. They just started to, put their pumps in and try to deal with the issue on site. And so it wasn't until later in that morning where we were realizing, okay, we're not going to be able to keep up with the buildup of that water.
Two final questions.
That's right. I mean, I think, again, we were hopeful that we would have enough water in the reservoir to get us through later in the evening, and so we thought we had a longer window than ultimately we did to be able to address the situation. Because obviously, being able to maintain pressure and not issue the boiled water advisory was what we were trying to do, right? We were trying to really address the issue before it became a potential risk.
Sir, last two questions.
The word component was used a lot yesterday. Can you talk specifically about what component failed and how was that failed?
Yeah, components. I don't know that I can. I mean, I will tell you there's sort of two issues at hand. One is the shock to the IT platform that maintains the entire water operation, right? When our battery backup expired, that basically created a hard reset of the system. When the system tried to come back up online when power was restored, so power was restored in a little over 2 hours, it was not able to connect with the servers to be able to get back online and do its work. So it wasn't until about midnight last night. I mean, we brought our consultants came in from Virginia Beach. We had folks on site starting yesterday afternoon, and it took hours to finally get it up and running. I was there at the site. It was a big win when that happened right about midnight. On the other side, it was the rising of the water level in those wells. You had all this electronic equipment sitting in water, and so fuses were shorted. We had to first drain the water, pull panels off, dry all those electrical components, and that's part of what led to some of the stops and starts over the course of the night, right? We would start a pump, and then a fuse would go out, and then we'd be back to square one. And so it was an iterative process with damage across a lot of different components.
Thank you. You said you were at the water treatment facility overnight with crews, and I'm curious, what exactly were you doing overnight? And when you say crews of people, how many people are you talking?
Yeah, there was somewhere on the order of about 20 folks who were at the water treatment facility. There were a number of them who were focused on the IT system, and then there were different teams who were working on really drying out and repairing the electrical equipment that had been previously submerged in water. We had the operators who were really taking the big look at the system and trying to make sure, and part of that was also, like a diagnostic process. Where are the issues, and what are the different ways we can try to restore water into the water treatment plant? And so there was just a bunch of different attempts to use pumps from one side to pump to another, to open valves, to try to do things manually because we didn't know if the IT system would work. So that was the work that had been happening over the 8 hours that I spent overnight with the team.
So did the staff miss anything at any point, or were they always, from what you know, were they always on top of the situation? They knew what was happening. Was anything missed about the situation?
Not that I can tell. Obviously, we'll do an after-action report and we'll dive in. We'll have both some clarity from the logs of the IT system, We'll also look at what the actual on-site staff was response. But I've now been in this for almost 24 hours, and it really seems like the power outage, the IT system, and then the dysfunction of the pumps really led to a weather-related incident that would be really hard to avoid.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will do that, and then we'll wrap. Thanks, Joanne. I had some conversations with Superintendent Cameras. I think they, at least as of our last conversation, felt like it would be difficult for them to open without potable water. We'll continue to see how that unfolds. If there are other ways for them to provide water, because we'll have restoration of service hopefully at some point this afternoon, but the schools will ultimately have to make a decision whether the restoration of pressure is enough, or if the water is still undrinkable, can they bring enough outside resources to be able to open up schools, or do we need to give it another day?
Thanks, everybody.
Yep, thank you all.